All right, hello everybody. Hopefully you can hear me well and there's not too much background noise. Today is our first quantum roundtable, multidimensional musings for evolutionary times. So we have some of our illuminated quantum healing practitioners have joined here on the call, and we're going to be talking about illuminated quantum healing, about the experiences that we've had as practitioners and as receivers of these healing treatments, and also be taking questions from anybody. So if you're joining, just say hello, where you're from, and type that in, and then add your questions in if you have any questions about what we discuss, and we'll do our best to speak to them in a bit. Okay, I think maybe I'll close my door because it might get a little bit loud. I've got lots of children playing around me, so just gonna hear the sound of these incredible young masters playing around. But let's all just take a moment and just tune in. Everyone that's joining the video, let's just take a moment to drop in. We're gonna have some deep conversations today. And for deep conversations, it's always good to feel very deeply connected to yourself and to your truth and to your wisdom and to your love. So it's inviting everyone that's tuning in now and that will tune in the future to just take this time to tune into self, into the breath, into your capacity to love, to witness, pure beingness. And let us all welcome the presence of the divine, simply intending to welcome that higher consciousness reality, your higher self, your soul, welcoming in your guides and teachers, the beings of light that tend to your evolution, all the way up to the Supreme Source, infinite light, infinite love, infinite consciousness. We're asking that today, during this transmission, that we receive the appropriate information, appropriate guidance, flashes of insight and inspiration to weave this conversation into a place of discovery and connection and compassionate witnessing. It's feeling your love, feeling your compassion, feeling your presence, and begin to open the eyes, allowing the light to come to you as it always has. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen today. So we have our practitioners, IQH practitioners here. We're going to go through some questions so you can learn more about who they are, where these lovely beings are positioned on the planet right now. Of course, all these sessions can be done in person and also remotely via video conferencing. They'll share a little bit about how they came into this practice. You feel if there's something else I want to speak to that. If you're interested in this work, as they're talking and sharing, we do have a practitioner training coming up at the end of March. This is by application only. You'll have to visit the newearthascending.org website to find the application and more information about the training. It goes over a period of, I think, 5 or 6 weeks. We have 3 meetings during that time, and practitioners in training will watch video material on their own and then meet to go deeper into the studies. We also have a quantum launchpad, so if you're wanting to sample out this work and to see what it's all about and have your experiences with it, we have something called the Quantum Launchpad coming up. It's 4 meetings. It's like every 2 weeks on a Tuesday. We'll go through current life regression, so going into memories of this life. We'll go into the second one would be meeting your guides, meeting your team of light that guides your life and your evolution. Third one would be past life regression, or some would call that an other life regression. And then the final one is meeting with the Universal Council of Light. So it's really exciting. All of this stuff is housed on our Source.energy platform so that people can not only access the courses and the material to study, but also access the larger global community that's in there and talk and chat and collaborate and weave the magic that we've all come into this life to weave. So really excited about that. You can find that at www.source.energy. There's more information there and also on the newearthascending.org website. So I'm going to go through the practitioners. I'm going to have them start. We'll start with Julie, just to say where you are and how you came into this practice. Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me well?
Really
Yes.
good.
Um, I am Julie, and I am Brazilian, but I live in Holland. And I do most of the sessions, or all of the sessions, are online. I'm a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, and that's mainly what I do. I also do coaching with it, which is something that I myself, as a client, um, thought would be very beneficial. So I start offering that after the sessions, because there is a lot that comes through the session. So to help embody and then integrate, I think that helps a lot. There was more question. What was the other question? That's it.
Yeah, I think it was just how you came into this. Like, how did you discover? Because I know for me, discovering the work of my entry in was through Dolores Cannon. I'd never heard of any of, other than through my yoga experiences of studying yoga philosophy. I'd never really poked my head into the reality of reincarnation. And so my entry was through her work. I can talk more about that, but how did you discover this quantum healing universe?
Oh, I love past lives. That's something that like. I was reading Brian Weiss for when I was really young already. In Portuguese, was or is still in Brazil. And I was fascinated. I love the stories of. Also, he has a book of children remembering past lives, so that was always something of interest for me. Every book that had this theme, I would um, devour. I really loved it, and so I kept learning all kinds of things around this theme until I think it was 2017, where I found Alba through a series of um, synchronicities. Alba appeared, and that was like that was like so interesting. I was so enthusiastic about what I saw in the session. Someone sent me a link that I got my husband and my daughter, took them to the forest, and I was like telling them about everything that came through that session that I watched, because I was so fascinated with everything, like how that can happen and all the amazing things that come through in the session. And then I found Dolores Cannon and the books, and like it kept going. Like it's so amazing and fascinating. And I remember also in still back in the day with Brian Weiss books, the moment that there was the first story where someone remembered a life of not being in this planet. Took a few books. It was like his third book. I don't know, and that was just one story with that person remembering, and that felt like amazing to me. I was like, okay, I'm not the only one. Like the first time that I saw someone sharing something like that. And I started sharing with people because this was before internet. So I'm dating myself here, but also I was really enthusiastic sharing this with people because I expected that people would be like um, having the same enthusiasm as me, like, oh yes, I feel this too, but that's not really the case. So I kept going and searching, and then so after finding Alba and Dolores Cannon, I was searching really fast. I want to have a session, so I had a session in here in Amsterdam, because it was not really a thing with online sessions yet.
Yeah.
Right. And so I did in Amsterdam. And that was so interesting because all the things that till this day I talk about came through that first session.
Mm.
For example, do you want me to go through that first session thing, shall we?
Maybe we'll wait. We'll go into that when everyone goes into sharing. But
Yeah.
I had a really similar intersection. I think Ron had come into the Brian Weiss material. I think you had maybe read Many Lives of the Ambassadors. He does a different type of modality than we do, but similar concept. A lot of similar things coming through. And then also coming across Dolores Cannon's work and also Alba Weinman. So Alba Weinman is based here in the United States, and she was one of Dolores Cannon's students. Dolores Cannon had created a technique. She's like the mother of the quantum healing hypnosis lineage. She was left a pretty impressive body of work behind her. She has her whole organization that's still training people, and then she had 19 books. She was just powerhouse. And like Julie was saying, in those earlier days of quantum healing, sessions were only done in person when they were done through the way that Dolores Cannon was teaching. And I think when Ron and I started doing that work, we felt really clearly and really guided through the work to start doing things online. And Alba Wyman was a huge inspiration for that, because Alba was like one of the first practitioners to be putting her videos of her clients up online, which was also very like kind of avant-garde in the like coaching transformational work thing, to be putting people's experiences online for others to watch, like really intimate and really powerful experiences. And so for me, it's like, wow, I'm like watching miracles happen. When I first started tuning into these videos and seeing the transformation and seeing the storylines that were coming out through people under hypnosis, it was just like, and I think the same excitement of like, oh my God, I'm so hungry for this. Where can I get more information about it? How can I learn more about it? I need to share about this with everybody. If everybody knew about this. And so there's always that first, like, what do they call that? Newly converted energy. Like when someone first, discovers God or discovers, some, this whatever group or thing that really brings them to life. They want to share it with everybody. And of course, it's not always the same. Not everyone's so open to it. Not everyone's ready for it, and that's also something I had to learn to respect and see if I'm sharing this stuff from my own need to share, like, I don't know, some egoic thing, or if it was really serving that person to receive such a cosmic notification. So let's go into Anna. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to say about that. I think the other thing was the concept of not being from another planet. I think at the beginning of this, it was like I was open to extraterrestrial life, but didn't really understand how diverse, how complex, and how many levels of intelligent life exist. And through these quantum healing sessions, that's definitely something that we've all probably learned, is that there's just so much more than our little human minds even understand, and that we've never heard of before. So it's quite an expansion. Let's go into Anna.
Hello. Hello, everyone. My name is Anna, and like Julie, I am from Brazil as well. I was born, we are actually having a conversation on Telegram, and now we are finally like seeing each other's face. But yeah, we are both from Brazil. I'm from Rio. And in reality, the way that I got into quantum healing, it's really magical, because I think that we all have magical stories and how we got here, right? Because when we're talking about the power of spirit, it's just magic after magic. And I think that we all have those magical stories in relationship to how we found it. But for me, I always been a kid that, and my mom used to say, you put me in the corner and I'm fascinated by whatever I'm doing. So I always been in kind of a meditative state, and being like Aquarius, always like thinking ahead and having those kinds of moments that even my mother to this day, she doesn't understand how I can stay in my room reading a book for the whole day. Um, but that got me into exploring myself, exploring what am I here to do. And it started first with discovering myself physically. So I went into sports and became an athlete. And when I went to college, for example, I wasn't sure of what to do because I loved so many things. So I applied for veterinary school, for psychology, and also end up into Bachelor of Exercise, Fitness and Exercise, and end up doing that. And I thought to myself, this is a way that I can help people. And at the time I already had those connections, like this is how people first understand who they are, through the physical vessel, right? And then I started to go into that, and that for me was really great, until the point that I got it cannot just be lifting weights. That is something else to be discovered. And that when I started to dive into yoga, this was back like 17 years ago. And he came like, okay, it's something physical, but that's more, that's something else there, that is more than just the physical. And yoga took me. And as I was actually going through, years later, through my quantum healing hypnosis technique training by Dolores Skin, and my first one that I did, I remember that also at this time, while I was practicing and discovering yoga, that I did my first NLP and hypnosis training, just like a basic training. And I was fascinated, because then it became, from the body, let's go explore the mind. And that's what the first contact of hypnosis. But then, it's usually through pain that we find, or we look for even more solutions, right? And after my divorce about 6 years ago, we'll be going to the seventh year. I found myself already digging again into resources and things that could help me understand and integrate that pain. And of course, that popped out Dolores Cannon into my YouTube. And it popped out Allison Cole and Alba as well. And when you see that, you're just like, "Ugh." And you spend hours. I would spend hours on YouTube just watching, and decided to go to quantum healing hypnosis training. I did my level one, and just loved, and started with my first session too. That was really really powerful for me and for the person that I did with, because it's someone that I love very much, and have found so many great things from that first session. Um, and then BQH as well, because I wanted to really become more knowledgeable. So I found Candice and her connection with Dolores, and I was so like interested into, started exploring the online possibilities as well, because even before that I found you guys. And Michael and Ron, you both fascinated me. One of my great friends that might be watching this live right now, Frankie, and I met him at the beach. He's like, you gotta see those guys, they are awesome, because I did a quantum healing session with him, and he guided me to you guys, and I was just like, wow, I feel really connected to them for some way, for some reason. And I got in touch with Michael, and I did like this intuitive, incredible mentorship and work that he does, that really started to awaken, my sense of self-confidence to do this work. And that with the pandemic and the shutdown, you guys offer the first illuminated quantum healing training, and I said, I'm totally jumping into that. And it was great. It was the best thing that I did. So here I am. That's my story, and I'm happy to be here.
Oh, bless you, Anna. Thank you so much for sharing that. I am. This brought up a few things, and one was you'll probably hear and notice already at this point that we're all coming from diverse backgrounds with diverse training and different experiences leading up to that, that decision to take the illuminated quantum healing practitioner training, or to have a session yourself. So there's the QHHT foundation, there's beyond quantum healing as well, and then our modality, illuminated quantum healing. And we really honor and respect people that diversify their training and seek out all the keys that they can and use everything that they can to support their clients in the best way. And so the way that we teach it, we have this structure, this way of saying this is what needs to happen in a session. This is what the goal is to accomplish, and also that each practitioner has so much to bring into it and has experience with other forms of healing and consciousness expansion. So those are encouraged to enhance the structure that's pretty solid already, to really bring it into a more personal an authentic experience for the client and the practitioner when they're working together, because it's really important that everyone feels like they're really serving from their deepest self and not just following protocols. So yeah, I wanted to speak about that. The other thing I wanted to speak about is you'll hear that we encourage our practitioners to do mentorship, to work with people longer. Back in the beginning, it was kind of like there was this misperception that people generally only had one quantum healing session in their life or something like that. But we actually have found that it's really beneficial to have multiple sessions, to go in through the layers of the onion, to go deeper, 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 because consciousness expansion is eternal. It's not just like you do one thing and then you're enlightened and you're done. It's a process. It's a fire that you constantly have to feed for the transformation to continue going to new heights, to new levels, to deeper places within one's being, so that you can continue realizing higher and higher truths. And those revelations continue, for a very long time. So was there something else? I think just the progression that Anna was speaking about was the physical, moving from physical consciousness of like really coming into the body and really occupying your body through some type of physical practice, and then starting to go into the deeper or more subtle parts, to see, oh, there's something there. Let's see what's there, and just digging again deeper and deeper. And yeah. Okay, so let's go to Ron's holding up a whale. Super blessed whale. It's not going to be a whale speaking. It's going to be B coming from Ireland. Her camera was not functioning appropriately, so she's going to be our Irish cosmic mother, coming from the mysteries of space, sharing wisdom for you. And she's personified in this icon of the whale. Sometimes we need that outward representation. Yeah. Okay, good. Bless you. Okay, so B, you're up. Can you hear us? Let's see.
No?
B, now we can. You go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now we can.
Like, okay, so good. Oh, I can be louder. Yeah, thank you for the whale. I have a story that I can't tell because it goes all too far, but the whale has something to do with one of the experiences I had with someone that we know as George Duman from maybe the Quantum Healing Forum. He does a lot of sessions with CTT, and actually I had a very profound experience with that. So anyway, it's a really strange situation to not see my own picture. I thought it was really funny. Maybe 3 years ago, I wasn't even used to use a camera, and now I feel a little bit funny. Yeah, so I'm in Ireland. I've recently moved to the countryside here in Ireland, finally, after being on duty in Dublin for many years. I am German, born German, and I never wanted to do this work. This is really, for me, still making me laugh that I'm doing this, and I'm so passionate about it, but I really never wanted to do it. And I find it really interesting that nearly everyone has said that they have binge watched Alba, which was for me as well the thing that I watched her, and I think I must have watched about 70 or 80 of her sessions, and thought, if everybody has something that they need to release from their system, I really want to know if I have something that I need to release. And that's where I went to my first practitioner. And that was a semi quantum healing session, but it was still really beautiful because the energy that I could experience was amazing. And then I met in person Ron and Michael 2018, I think, and I had a life-changing experience with Ron facilitating my session, and it blew me away. I actually ran around with my recording to everyone I knew who wanted to listen to it or not. I said, you have to listen, you have to listen, you have to listen, because I didn't understand even myself what kind of gifts we had released in that session. And I only listened back, let's say, maybe 6-7 months ago, and I thought, oh my God, it all came true already within the short period of time. And I had no concept whatsoever what had happened during the session. I only knew I had an experience to go into trance. I could see things that if you had told me someone can see this, I would not have believed it. I was kind of, I don't know. I was like on a high. I have never taken drugs, so it probably was a similar experience to that. And so I thought it was so interesting. And somehow my guides always make me do things in a very interesting and very sophisticated way. So I ended up having sessions with people. Someone asked a question and I answered the question on Facebook, and she said, would you like to do a session? And she just offered me a session, and I do a session with her, not expecting ever anything. I have to say that, because I never believed in anything but the real life physical stuff. And I had this experience of, and that's why I had to grin, Michael, me being a dragon mother. And I knew I was a dragon mother, but my rational mind was kind of, what's going on here? So I was gently shaken by these sessions, shaken in a way that I could slowly, I would say, from a cellular memory, that there was something else there, and that I had something to do with it, and I just had it somewhere. And I was so curious. I wanted a session every month, which I couldn't afford, of course, I couldn't. And so I don't even know how it happened. In 2019, I suddenly found myself looking at BQH. I have no memory how I even knew about it. Maybe Nina Raphael was probably talking to me, I'm not sure. And I see my finger pressing a button, buying the course. And I'm like, what am I doing here? I like going under, but I don't want to do this. I don't want to do courses. I don't want any tests and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I got the course. I did it. I loved it. And then I was done. And I said, okay, done and dusted. It's over. Now I felt a little bit of a burden doing this, because I really didn't want to do it. And I wanted to forget about it. And that was end of 2019. And suddenly they sent me the certificate, and I got really annoyed. And I thought, oh no, now they remind me again of this. I don't want this. So I struggled for a few days, and then I thought, maybe I know how it feels to go under, but I have no idea how it feels to facilitate. So because you're naturally then part of that forum, I said, okay, I'm going to look for someone who wants to swap a session. And several people wanted to. And I was like, within a short period of time, I had so many offers for sessions. And I thought, oh my God, I thought I won sessions. But suddenly I had so many sessions that I didn't know how to facilitate them all. So I was saying, oh my God, I don't want to sit there for 2 or 3 hours facilitating sessions. I don't like to sit that long. But it was so interesting, because my team connected me with the most interesting practitioners. And out of that came, how will I say that? So much knowledge that I consistently started to explore and to develop my own, or to acknowledge my psychic abilities, which I never thought I had. I had no idea what a psychic ability is, if you understand what that means. Because you don't know you're psychic if you think what you do is normal. Like, understanding where people are coming from. So in the end, I started doing sessions. And then I started doing surrogate sessions because I met people who were very unhappy and couldn't go under like little children. And so I am loving it now. This is my story.
Thank you so much for sharing, Bea. It was really such a treat to meet you when we came to Ireland. It was like family reunion. Still feeling the love from that. One thing I wanted to talk about before we get to Ron's share is we haven't really discussed exactly what these sessions are. We're talking about them a little bit, but so people will come for a variety of reasons to the sessions, whether it's healing or curiosity or many number of things that draw in there. Once a client comes in, there's this first part where we get to know the client. There's a structure to this part. We often call this the interview or the intake. And this is often a very powerful container of healing for the client, because they're guided through an self-inquiry process to go through their life and to go through the situations in their life and to be really curious about the cause of that subconscious creation of these dynamics that are at play within relationships or work or life purpose, these kinds of things. So the practitioner is holding space for this client to go through the self-inquiry process. This helps the practitioner also get to understand what the client's needs are so that they can ask more appropriate questions as the session goes along. So the sessions, after that point, the client then is guided into there's a little bit of a break, but then they lay down and they go into a guided journey. Now, you can consider this hypnosis, you can consider this a guided meditation, but whatever you want to call it, the client is guided into an inner experience where they are accessing information from their subconscious mind. This comes through visualization, emotional impressions that come forward, inner knowing. There's many, many ways that clients receive this information. So if you're a person that feels like, oh, I can't do these sessions because I can't visualize, the practitioners are trained to understand that belief and also to help guide you into some of your other capacities to intuit information from your deeper self. And that, like I said, that can be visual, that can be auditory, that can be from clear knowing. There's many ways that people can access this information within. This is what Bea was speaking about when she was saying psychic. So you're using your ability of psychic perception to really tune into those deeper layers of your part. Everyone has these abilities. You use it more than you even understand throughout your day. Any of those times that you get the flashes of insight, aha moments, this is the part that we're tuning into within the person, so that they can access their deeper wisdom that they have within. Then we'll go into what we call working with the higher self. Dolores Cannon called this working with the subconscious. Other people can also call it working with the superconscious mind. It's that part of our consciousness that is beyond this physical life. And everyone has access to this part of themselves. Again, I spoke about that communication before, but this is where we ask that part of a person's being, their soul, their higher self, whatever you want to call that part that's connected to the infinite intelligence of the universe, which you may not know yet that you are, but you are. So from that place, the higher self, or the subconscious, whatever you want to call it, does answers more information. We ask more questions of it, and the client just responds to what information that they're receiving through that. Then there's also a body scan for healing. We have extra layers beyond our original teaching of working with entity extraction, implants. People may not even know that. Most of the time, people don't even know that they have something that has energetically attached to them in some way and is causing some distortion or disturbance within their inner world, and then probably out picturing into other things. So we help get the person super clean, super clear, get as much as we can in that one session, ask the personal questions. That's a big part of the session, is that clients come with a list of questions that they want to ask their higher self, things that they want to learn, that they feel that they need more understanding about, so they can really heal their life and move into a new manifestation of their life. And so the practitioner is really laser sharp and really feeling into their heart of how to guide that part, so that the client leaves having loads of information, loads of clarity, loads of trust, heart open fully to this next chapter of their life. And then we bring them up and we talk and we, discuss whether they're going to maybe have more sessions or mentorship or other ways that they might continue to engage with this energy. Everyone gets a recording of their sessions so that they can continue listening and going deeper into the work. Like I said, this consciousness revelation continues more and more. These recordings are like living codices. They continuously reveal more and more and more information to the person as they listen. So that when we say a session, that's what we're talking about. There's a lot of components to it. There's several opportunities for healing and expansion, and each of these practitioners is very solid in their ability to hold such immaculate space and such compassionate, loving awareness for the person as they go through their healing. So you don't have to be prepared to come into a session in terms of like looking a certain way. If you're feeling like you're a mess and your life's a mess, we are so excited to spend time with you and help you discover the gem that's deep within that experience. There's probably several. So moving into Ron, my sweet love, is on the other side of the country of the United States right now. So maybe you can share about yourself and how you came into this world of quantum healing.
Oh, the world of quantum healing, yes. So, I can share like Anna, when I grew up, I actually was a professional dancer. So it also was this more embodiment. So sitting so many hours a day, now doing sessions, it's a big, such a polarity between what I used to do before, dancing 7 hours a day. So, now the way I introduced to quantum healing, so of course past life, also from many life many masters, that's the first book I think that I read about past life. And then I reintroduced to, I think, the concept of the new earth and the 3 waves of volunteer. The book from Dolores Cannon was what kind of reignited my passion and discovery around that. And that's a book that Michael shared with me after he received it from a friend of him. So it's kind of a book that was gifted to Michael. He read it, and then I read it, and it was very resonating and ignited that path. But then, like Anna said, the path full of synchronicities and magical events to lead you to where you need to go. I had a moment that I was on you might be familiar with Mount Shasta in north of California, and there was a full moon and eclipse, and by synchronicity coincidence, my cousin that I didn't see for many years walked into a coffee place where I was sitting, and we just kind of like, whoa, met each other after many years and started to talk, and we decided to meet in the evening around the fire and to talk and to connect. So I was sharing with her about the book that I just finished the 3 Waves of Volunteer. And then she told me that she actually received sessions in that modality. And it's basically the one person from my family that suddenly is awakened, and suddenly we can go to the most far out conversation that I never had with anyone from my family. And it's all kind of like, whoa, do you know this? And you even had sessions and da, da, da. And she told me even her mom had the session and how she's connecting every morning with her guides and how she's getting information. And it's like, okay, that was like a big sign that I need to look deeper into this. Then I think, I'm not sure if I started to binge watching Alba first or if I discovered that there's the online course. I might discover that there's the online course I'm not sure how I discovered that, but then I told Michael, I think we need to do it. And Michael was resisting, and he was like, no, I don't want to do it. No. A little bit like B.
No desire at all.
No. So I told him, okay, I'm gonna do it. I think we didn't maybe even have a lot of money at the time. Maybe even my family paid for it. I'm not sure how we did the first course, and we did the course online. We watched many videos of Alba to prepare us to the information, and that was really. I think it's really helpful when you study this modality to watch a lot of examples, because then you get to understand the variety of this. And also, I could watch during Alba the clearing of the entities. She was doing that as well. And in my first session that I did QHHT, and when we learned this modality, I already had a moment that I needed to clear an entity. So it was very clear that this is really beneficial to kind of expand and learn more of what's going on in this realm when you get to put somebody in that deep relaxation. So yeah, we learned it, and very quickly that was the moment that we said that we're practicing. We had so many sessions, and in 1 month I finished the 25 practice sessions. And from that moment, like, everything shifted for my path. If I was before was thinking of doing dance workshops and things like that, it was really, really shifted, and all my focus turned to facilitate sessions one-on-one. So that's a little bit about how I got into that. And also something that I just wanted to share while people were sharing about the online session and all that. That was a really interesting, because I think it took us around 2 years to do. We did like in-person sessions, and I remember the moment you mentioned Candace before, and I discovered somehow that she or other people were doing online, and in the beginning I was like so frustrated, and I was like, I can't believe they're doing it, even though some parts of me was feeling like I was like feeling like I should do that too, but I know that it's not allowed with the QHHT, and some part of me was like upset that other people are doing it because it's not allowed. And so I end up calling Candace, and we had a conversation about it. And then she shared with me the stories about what's going on, the background of the different modalities that were, not the different modalities, just in the organization of Dolores. And then she shared with me about a simple way that you change a little bit the script and to make it very safe to do it online, and that it's basically possible. And then after that, it started to come in my sessions too, that it's time to do it online, that it's okay, that it's safe, that it's something that we should do. Because when we get to talk with the higher self, the information that comes is profound, and we get confirmation that we need to do it. And we even had Dolores come and tell us that it's okay that we to do it, and we got the green light to start online. And then we started to offer sessions online, and it was really interesting, because that was still in a time when Alba, that many people seeing her videos were still saying that she's only doing in person. So it was still leading edge a little bit of doing it online, and even put it on YouTube and showing that we're doing online. It's kind of going against what the original organization was teaching. But it was coming out so strong that that's the evolution of it. And I think that was really clear and really powerful to see how important it is during those times that we had all the lockdowns and all the distancing, and it is, it's not, it doesn't mean that it's for everyone. If they don't feel comfortable with it online, it's maybe not for them. But for the young generation that is so used to this technology, that's so used and feels safe, because it's all about safety, it's just about the ability to relax, then it's just working in the most profound ways, and it's in the comfort of your home. So I'm so happy that people from all over the world that didn't have the access before to do these sessions are able to have an access for it, and also for us as practitioners that we can be everywhere in the world, and we can travel and go to places and we can still have our practice keep on going. So and yeah, it's just really nice expansion for all of us. Is there anything else you wanted to know?
That's it. Just yay for evolution, and really grateful for those experiences that have encouraged us to look beyond what we've known prior, so that we can move into places, new territories, more expansion, more clarity, and it's just a lot of gratitude for all the components that led to that expansion. So I want to speak about why somebody would come to work with you. What are you all noticing? Because not everybody, it's very easy for us practitioners to go into these really far out cosmic quantum concepts just because we're playing around in it all the time. But not everyone comes because they think that they're from another planet, or they might not even believe in past lives. So everyone's coming in it for a different reason, with different levels of understanding and curiosity. And each practitioner is going to get their own themes that come to them, certain things that are coming again and again and again. And often it's something that the practitioner also needs to see within themselves, so that they can work on healing themselves through the experience of working with the client. So maybe we'll go in the same order that we've been going in. We'll start with Julie. Yeah. Maybe let's keep this around 1-2 minutes.
Okay, so like themes that is coming okay, got it. The galactic is that happens a lot. Like I think every session something we get some being coming through. That's really common, which makes sense. And themes there it goes with the energies, right? That for a period of time I get a theme repeating, and then it switches to another theme. But there is one common thread lately. It's about trust, and that's also because I remember the trust thing, because you said we often connect with things that we are working through, right? And that's for me the trusting, and that's also a thing that I think is amazing with the sessions, is that you learn the trust by doing the session, because it comes through your own voice. So you have to, there is this whole learning to trust messages coming through your own voice, because we are very used to asking for help and getting readings, and the messages come through other people, and that's easy to trust, because then you get the confirmation, and that's very easy. But even if it's like the most profound message and comes through your own voice, it takes that you have to adjust to it. Like maybe I made it up, maybe I heard it somewhere. And that happened with my first session. And I always talk about too, like this is a common thing to go through, right? That because after it was amazing session, and after it I was like, maybe I made it up. So and then I went with this for a while, like I made it up, I made this part up probably, and I let it go for a bit. And then, but it's always there with you. Like it started coming back up. I started unpacking what came through, and then that made all the sense. Of course, this came up. Of course, I didn't make it up. And so there's this whole process you go through to trust your own voice, trust your abilities, what come through for you. So a lot that comes in the session is about there's always a period of adjusting the body to receive new information about yourself, to receive ability, connect with abilities that you have and that you have that are available for you, but you're not trusting. And so there is this time, this period of time of allowing the client to adjust to it and trust what's coming through. And I think that also I notice as a trend that about these abilities and this trust is alchemy. It's like each client receives a way that they have this alchemy within them, a way to use alchemy in beautiful ways, different ways. That's like fascinating for me to watch them connect with this. There was one that had like a really cellular level alchemy that she was. I mean to share this session because you can really visualize with her and how to go within the cells, vibrate and activate and alchemize whatever needs to be alchemized. And so I started noticing this too, that they connect with the ability, and in this case, the alchemy, and in a very unique way. And it, beautiful to see. That's it. There's many threads, and something that is fun too is the synchronicity that happens after the sessions with me and with the client. And so I love the process after the sessions too, like the sharing. That's why I love the coaching, that part to go through with this, having someone to share. I think it's so much fun. There's so much synchronicity. It's amazing. I'm sharing a session now, almost ready to share. I did some high level magic because it was a huge session, like the longest session ever. But the magic happened and I transformed to 22 minutes video. So that's ready to share. And that's the one that came so much synchronicity after, like so much, that I thought this would be the first one for me to work with, because I'm now in the process of going back to sessions. And that's so much fun to go back to sessions. I always tell the client, like, go back to the session, because you will listen to it. The information will come through so different because you already did all the process, all the receiving, and then you go to a next level of receiving. And things come through that you didn't even notice the first time. So I'm enjoying doing that for myself, like watching the client session and receiving from that. It's really nice. Did I miss a question? That's it, right? Yeah.
You did it. You did it well. You actually touched on a few parts that I want to just quickly add in, sprinkle a little bit more in. And that has to do with, let's start with the last one. Listening to your recording. So many people that have these sessions in whatever modality or style you're doing, that you get this recording, make sure that you listen to it soon. I like to say to my clients, listen to it as soon as you can and as frequently as possible, because it, like Julie was saying, there's this process. It's like it works, it alchemizes. So when someone says alchemy, they're talking about this transformation process. You can think water into wine, that's an alchemy thing, but there's an inner alchemy that can happen with our cells, but also with our own consciousness. And so alchemy is talking about that transformation process. But listening to the recording is really, really important. Even a year later, you could listen to it. And like Julie said, it's a new thing. It has new revelations because you're in a new place. The other thing that I want to speak about, I have my notes kind of going all over the place. Synchronicity. The term synchronicity was put out, and that's like those serendipitous encounters with different things in your life, whether it's a sign of some kind or a person that happens to talk about a certain thing, or there's some kind of timing where it's like, where it feels as though the matrix of reality is speaking to you. It's giving you something. It has a little sign to point you in the right direction. And so once somebody starts to go through awakening, or when they're really first starting to awaken, this type of experience starts to awaken that inner sensitivity of being able to tune into, you can call it psychic, you can call it intuition, whatever. But as these synchronicities come up, they're actually kind of like triggers to awaken that part of yourself. So if you're noticing that you're having synchronous events in your life, notice them, trust them, say thank you for them, that you're open to more of that communication, and continue on your life path. Now, this topic of trust is because I didn't get to share my story of my session, my experience of having a session, and I have to say I did 2 sessions right at the beginning of coming into this world of different quantum healing hypnosis modalities, and I think I worked with somebody that was a QHHT person both times. Yes, and I was not at a place where I was ready to accept the information that was coming through. I had a lot of self-doubt, a lot of self-loathing, a lot of doubt in spirit just in general. I had a lot of religious programming, and the information that was coming through at first seemed like too much for my ego. My ego really took control there and actually stopped both sessions that I had. I was that like the the client that practitioners like, your worst client that you can have, because I literally stopped the session. I sat up and was not going to be looking at those things. Now, what's happened over this time of me coming in to trust this material, trust the process, open myself to these concepts, just in the last 2 weeks, I started working in a completely other modality, doing, it's called Emotion Code. I was doing some work, and those past lives that were originally being surfaced in those initial sessions, that information has come back up again in another modality. Yet at this time, I'm willing to look at them. I'm actually curious about them and have the capacity to hold that loving awareness for myself, and trust, so that I could clear these things. So as you work, maybe you're not super intuitive and psychic right now. That's going to come as you clear the body, as you trust your instrument, as you do this different work. It'll start to surface as you're ready for it. So these sessions that you do, there's never anything that's going to harm a person. It's always the appropriate level to trigger something within them for some deep healing and realization. And sometimes that involves tears, but they're beautiful tears. They're tears that your soul's been wanting to shed for quite some time, so that it can move into a new place. So, just really want to speak to that. If you're having doubts, if you're feeling like you're not, that you don't have what it takes, go have a session anyway, because what's going to come forward is going to be perfect for you, wherever you are. And it may not make sense right away at the beginning, but more and more understanding of it will continue to happen as you do the sessions. But there is a high level of understanding and integration right away, but it just continues to work with you. So let's go into Anna. And so the question was, themes and who you're working with and who seems to be coming.
Yeah, well, it's so interesting because I think talking about synchronicity, and I think also we are part of this family in the quantum healing modality, that we also experience those synchronicities and the themes repeating, right? So trust is huge. I think trust has been in all of my sessions, every single one of them. And the interesting thing is that when I started doing my first sessions, right? My first session was one of my greatest friends, and he found out I was training him. I was actually his trainer, his personal trainer, and we figured out that we had the same birthday and all of those things. Super healthy, amazing, happy guy, right? And for out of nowhere, I had this intuition. I was just like, have you ever in the past like 3 months done a blood work to see how your body is and how everything is, just to check? He's like, no, I'm super healthy. I never done that. And then he did it, and he found out he had leukemia. And leukemia, it's something that is very silent. It just when it comes, you sometimes you're already like in the merge of passing, of transitioning. And he was like, oh my God, you saved my life. And that was enough for him to trust me to do my first ever session with him, because he didn't even believe in past lives and all those things, right?
Mm.
And it was so beautiful and so powerful. And here I am myself as a practitioner, questioning myself too in the terms of trust. And that was the first thing that already comes, is trust. It's trust for my intuition, trust for me as a practitioner, and trust in the work. And since then, is this theme, it repeats a lot. But also, what I noticed, like you said, is that as I develop myself as a person, as a practitioner, as a human being, the themes that are showing up in my life are the people that I'm attracting to work with, which is really, really interesting. So for now, lately, I have been finding that many women are coming to me, women that find themselves in like crossroads and stuck, and challenging the status quo that they need to be this pretty face, all gorgeous with like, everything to be feel valuable. They need to have those characteristics, right? And this has been challenging them to put themselves real and honestly out there with genuine in themselves. And me as a practitioner, Michael, because you work with me, right? You guided me on this journey. I had to trust on that force myself. I had to trust that what I had to offer was good enough, and that I wasn't just good enough because I'm pretty, but I'm good enough because I have a lot to share with people from my knowledge, from my sovereignty as a being on this earth right now, having this experience. So a lot of women, um, maybe separated, divorced as well. That as I was in a divorce, and not knowing what to do with themselves, or really upset because what they do, they don't enjoy doing it, or having a spiritual awakening, and having repetitive dreams and not understanding what they are. And so this has come, and also I received a message from Dolores. It was just like I received a message from her, a channel message that told me about the path for the new earth, right? Because the new earth, is a big thing in when we talk about Dolores, this transition into a place in which we can see that the old earth, or the old ways of believing things, and wars and despair, we can see it, but we are living in another timeline, in another reality, that we create this environment that it's healthy for us to practice the sovereignty as a being. The message said that the feminine needs to awaken humanity, right? Like this sacred feminine aspect of embracing your pain, embracing your darkness, crying, feeling your emotions, and so you can discover yourself. And this comes from those women within men or women, doesn't matter the sex, right? It comes from this mother awakening. And that's going to awake our connection with the earth, and loving the earth and loving each other. And so for me, that's the theme that's coming out really strongly. And I actually even decided to put myself out there as somebody that is like with open arms to help people to awaken the feminine, feminine energies within them, and as I study my own. So that's what I have been seeing lately.
Beautiful. And what this brings up another topic, because it is something that's talked about a lot of, and you did speak to it, what it means by this divine feminine, or this mother energy that people are speaking about. For so long, we have used what would be considered like a masculine or analytical or structured or kind of top-down kind of way of working at things, where what's happening now when we speak about feminine, this nurturing quality, this quality of evolution, of really lifting something up, of growing it. And the earth is such a great representation of a divine feminine energy, where there's diverse levels of life, and they're supporting one another, and there's this continuous upspringing of life force and creativity. That is, when we're speaking about the divine feminine or the feminine, this can be in a person that has a body that is male, or in a body that's in a female body. Doesn't matter the anatomy. It is an energy of consciousness within. It's that part of you that takes a moment to reflect before responding. That instead of yelling at the person that harms you, that chooses forgiveness and actually, comes into a space of reconciliation. This is the energy of that divine feminine. It's been called many things in different cultures, but this is inherently, when we're working in a healing container of any kind, it is that divine feminine. It's the Shekinah, if you want to call it that. It is Shakti, different forms of Shakti that's coming from the Vedic traditions, but it is this nurturing energy that revitalizes, that we're all working with to mother ourselves, to grow as children of consciousness. That we need that softness to help us grow. Sometimes the strength is good too, like the force is needed sometimes, but it's that softness, it's that nurturing that really empowers everyone. So, all right, let's move into the Cosmic Mother B, emerging from deep intrapsychic space. Yeah.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So, firstly, I would like to say something. After I said that I didn't want to do the work, I sit here daily and I often think of my clients, and I'm so grateful. For me, this is the most sacred thing I've ever done in my entire life. I am so deeply grateful and honor all these people that come to me for sessions because they trust me with their process. And I'm one of the people that do not post any of the sessions just because I seem to get a lot of very vulnerable people who take very, very long till they go to someone, especially into a space where they kind of could feel that they're losing control, going under. And that is something that really puzzles me a lot, that they actually find me. And when I see and we go through the process, I'm just so in awe. So I have a lot of people who have a lot of abuse, and also I'm really, really seeing a few men coming to me with their processes, and that really is so, so beautiful. And what I notice when I ask people how they found me, I find that they very often have watched me on social media for some time to really find out who I am and how I work. And yeah, it is really important to have that trust. And then I have a lot of people, they are just like I have been, total non-believers. They just come for the process. And I think sometimes the difference between myself, I was so giddy to go into that session, like especially with Ron after I had a session before. And I just like, really like a kid going to the playground. But a lot of my clients do have such fear of letting go. And they have such problems to relax into that trance state. So I can say that several of my clients have even had difficulties to connect me to higher selves. But they have still received healing in the most beautiful ways, only because they nearly stopped as well as you did, Michael. They just didn't sit up, but I could see their inner turmoil, the fight between the mind and the heart, and the need to get healing done on some levels. And just because we took the time that was needed to allow that space to expand and maybe just to help them to feel the love and safety in that very moment, I feel often has helped them to come back out and never feel they have failed. And for me, it was most important with several of them to say, look, you've done a fabulous job, which genuinely I could see they have, because they have relaxed as much as they could. They've gone to the limits. and they have received what they needed to receive. So not everybody that I have seen has seen some other lifetimes even, because that was a barrier I could clearly see. They were not going over or would leave that time of this lifetime, but they had enough to deal with what had happened in this lifetime. I also would like to talk about what I've noticed who comes into my sessions. They don't necessarily make themselves known by wording it, but I feel a very strong force very often of the ancestors stepping in. They nearly march into my session they feel like a big army. So what I feel I have with several of these clients when they're very burdened because of the situations in their current life that they have gone through, they carry obviously a lot. That's my conclusion. I have never even been able to establish that from the subconscious mind, but it's my feeling that they bring up a lot from the ancestral line, and that we receive whatever they can heal in their current lifetime, like relaxation, that acceptance, suddenly the change of perspective, the understanding that there is love and that they haven't failed. And what I see as like part of my, if you will, psychic abilities, because it took me a while to understand, is I can actually see that this big process that we're currently going through, when we heal an individual that comes to us or ourselves, that we actually have an instant feedback line in the genetics where we come from. So we're healing into galactic realms, and with that I can see very often, and that's for me always like I don't know, it's like a song of joy that erupts in my heart. It's like the expansion within the galaxy, and sometimes I hear a voice saying, it's not just the galaxy, my dear, it's much more than that. And it's just so beautiful, and so I don't know, yeah, it's just amazing. But that gives me and opens for me the opportunity to work further with these clients, especially these clients who have no way in the very moment to see what I can see, these expansions beyond everything else. And I know then who I have laying in front of me there. I have a master coming in with a super, super big package, sometimes beyond what it is possible to realize in one lifetime. So the process of mentorship is something that I often recommend and say, look, if you have any questions afterwards, I always check in about a week later and just see. And just like you said, Michael, not everybody even dares to go and listen to the sessions. I always say, please listen to your sessions as well, because I find that is so important. You're bringing back in that healing energy, that love of your higher self and your guidance system and healing team. And some people come from mentorship and oh my God, I feel like I'm a garden. I see flowers blooming and coming up, like some slower, some like suddenly opening, and it's so gorgeous to see. And the beauty is that they very often can't see it yet. They still have all the many doubts, and they come back to me and I can say, my goodness, if you could see what I can see when I see you, oh my God, but you soon will. So that for me is the greatest gift. That's why I'm so grateful. And I'm joking with my guides nearly every day about how they got me to do this work. It's the most precious, most beautiful thing I've done in my entire life. And yeah, thank you for allowing me to say that.
Well, bless you. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I'd also thank you for also highlighting this point that it's not just other lifetimes that people are coming in to see, and that's okay. That doesn't mean that the session isn't working or that you've done something wrong. That you're always shown what's most appropriate and what you're ready to look at. And some people they're like, why would you go into a past life to do healing? This is the life that you're in. Well, because these impressions, the patterns started back then. So if you can learn and re-experience the physicality, the emotional evocation, of the experience, then the body releases it. And like B was saying, it's released not just in the emotions. We're talking about cellular regeneration. So we're talking about the cells are the physical part, but there's also an etheric layer. There's also a mental layer to the cells as well. So just like our body, I mean, that's what our body is made of, is these cells. So we have the physical layer, we have the life force layer, we have the those other mental layers as well. And so as we're working and healing, whether it's a past life or whether it's looking at this life, we're really working at the cellular level to free up all parts of ourself to allow our pure beingness to shine through those layers that were normally held in different holding patterns, different mental patterns, different, all kinds of different levels of distortion and contamination, so that there's more room to move. And like B was saying as well, it's not just your life that you're working. As we're all healing all these parts, we're healing our parents. They're the generations before our parents, the generations before that, and before that, and before that. That's just on this life. Our genetics span multiple galaxies as well. We have ancestors that we can't even understand right now that are sending their prayers and their love towards us to complete whatever work it is that we're going through. So if you're feeling alone, if you're feeling isolated, you've got an armada of beings standing behind you and alongside of you and in front of you, welcoming you into this, into your birthright of self-realization, of expansion, of unification with the Supreme. So whatever way that you make your way through your healing process, and it'll probably take a lot of different tools and a lot of different keys along the way, just really encouraging you to seek it out. Send that email, reach out to the practitioner, just let them know what you're going through and that you're opening yourself to have an experience, and just start the conversation somewhere. Get it going. You're not alone. Let's go into Ron.
Yeah, I can share a few things that actually just coming in while everybody's speaking, and very interestingly, because your question was about like the last, what the theme that comes up in my sessions lately, and very interestingly, the people that are coming to my sessions, like you just said, there are many people that are spread all around the world that are very lonely, that are in going through a very difficult events in their life, changing, like really need to do some quantum leap, like really in a place that they're maybe getting to a really deep darkness, or it can be also that they're experiencing physical things that are very flaring up in a big way. It can be mentally that they're going through a lot and they don't have a lot to share with other people. What's very, very unique as well with those people, even though it's they come when they're feeling quite low, their higher self, or the soul that we get to learn about those, that they are huge. And many times in my last sessions was, Anna was just mentioning it, it comes in my sessions almost to the connection to the mother of creation. Like their soul is going all the way to the aspect of the mother of creation. And a lot of, and there's this gap, the big gap that they feel between being the human here, going through what they're going through, all the suffering, all the difficulty of being this, and then their higher aspect that talk to them like they are the creator of everything, and a lot of the integration of the God source within us, that basically and it's interesting because it's not like there's one mother of creation, or there's like this collective consciousness of the mother of creation that's worked through people, and eventually we're all one, and we go all the way up. When we go all the way, and when we start to connect the different aspects of our higher selves, I believe that it's just like we have a higher self collective of some kind, and then we go higher, and there's another higher self collective, some kind of an oversoul, and we go to monadic consciousness, and just consciousness continue grow. So I feel like we're going to one of those energies that want to speak about the creation. So that comes a lot in my recent sessions, and it's interesting with the information that's kind of coming forward, and also one now that I'm putting up the book, how this kind of supports the information. And I wanted to talk about this, also the expectations. Like, many people come to the session because of the way that the QHHT before was sharing about one and done kind of session there, or the profound healing that can happen and can happen as well. Like, there's amazing profound sessions. I can give also example of, like, I had sessions that a woman came with a walking stick, and they end up sewing energetically her body, and after the session she was able to walk. Like, so yes, miracle can happen, and it's very unique and profound, and there's everyone getting what they supposed to and can. And even with one of those sessions of the Mother of Creation, one of the most healing things for this woman to see was just events from this life that she was falling in love for a moment, having a crush on something, just igniting that energy of love that she doesn't feel so much in her own life, but she needed to connect, just to connect again to this energy. And even though they showed her many of those events of just connecting to this spark of love, they also showed her, for example, the emptiness, and she could feel a deep sense of emptiness as well. And this, I think there's something, sometimes you have to feel something to heal it. Sometimes you have to want to change. Sometimes you have to do something in order to heal. Sometimes you have to prove something. They ask you to do something. So sometimes in those sessions, they would ask from you to do like a cleanse of some kind, or to try something new, or to do something that you were holding back from doing. I feel like what's happening in a way, it's kind of what's happened with traumas, that when people experience trauma, they're doing some kind of a register of like, this is when that's happening, I'm going to do this because I want to avoid this. And then they come again and again and again, and instead of showing them that they are actually going to the wrong direction, they're reinforcing the story that they created, and it's kind of take them out of the course or the dharma that they planned with their life. So what's happening in my sessions many times, that this kind of goes back to the place where they need to clear that trauma that's registered of what I did in this moment and this how I behave, to go back to go to a new path, so they can realign to what they planned here, what they planned to do when they came here. So it's kind of like a realignment of their dharma, of their path, of their awakening. And it does require a lot of trust, because it does bring a lot of change into their life. And this why the mentorship becomes so important, because then the integration to the ability from that moment to actually following the new path, and to restudy and to relive and to re-trust the guidance becomes so important. And that's what's happening, that I found that they're doing this work again and again. And most of my sessions right now are those kind of things, are mentorships and people that already were experiencing sessions, or sessions sometimes with the IQH practitioners and things like that. I feel like the one thing that I wanted to mention again is the different level. I can maybe share a little something small with Anna, for example. We had, after she did mentorship with Michael and did many sessions, we had one session together, and I feel like there was it was beautiful for me to witness how there's a new aspect that finally was able to speak through you, that before in other sessions where you weren't ready yet to, like. So there's alchemy, there's preparation of the body, of the vessels, to get to higher frequencies that will be able to channel. So it's amazing to see that, like, the time, that's what I'm seeing a lot, is like there's a session, there's time for preparation, there's alchemy time to work, and then higher and higher aspects and higher consciousness from this levels of pools of consciousness able to bring even more profound wisdom. So that's what the theme that I'm seeing in my sessions. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just share a little quickly. I think you can hear me, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
What I noticed about mine, when I first started doing this work, I had my adjustment period of trying to get to believe, because the first probably I'd say 30 or 50 sessions that I didn't believe what was happening. I didn't believe what my clients were seeing. I had a lot of my religious dogma from my background and my, all that stuff. I was still holding all of it and getting all this information. So I had this period of adjusting to that. But they were giving me, when we say they, you have to be aware of what the practitioner is talking about. This is a carryover from Dolores as well. A lot of times when an IQH or BQH or QHHT practitioner says they're speaking about, see, I even said they in regards to the practitioner, we're speaking about the higher evolution. We're talking about the non-physical beings that support our evolution. That is the guides, that's the higher self. And so we say they, with a capital T and some quotes around it if you'd like, in regard to that unification of the higher consciousness beings that that are channeled through a client, often during these sessions. And so clients will often start saying, well, we would like her to do this, and we sent her this sign the other day. So when we're saying that, it is the part of that is when the client is connecting with that part of themselves that exists within that unification. So it speaks as a collective, because at that point of consciousness, there is a large agreement of love and wisdom. Where here on the human level, on the physical plane, we each have our own individuated consciousness, our own limitations, our own ideas and beliefs. But as we awaken, as we go through this process, we start tuning into that place where all of those things are already reconciled and known, and then we pull that knowing into our being and live from it. So that being said, my sessions right away at the beginning, I started noticing, because Dolores talked about potato picking lives, or people that have really kind of like basic lifetimes that they were looking at, working on the farm for their whole life, or I don't know, living in a cave or something, like very primitive lives or something. Not a lot happening. I was getting high energy, high storylines, one right after another, and it seems that I was getting all of these clients that were that have been a part of this earth since the beginning, that have been having life after life and achieving high levels of consciousness. This also extended into cosmic history, into galactic history, of clients that were involved in some pretty big events there. And so I was starting to learn about all of these lost time periods and information of this earth and of the Milky Way and of the greater cosmos. All of that information has been put into a book that I wrote called the Illumination Codex. It has so many, I haven't even counted. I want to say there's around 50 client transcripts in there, different stories detailing all of this information that I'm talking about, so you can read it and have your own experience with the material. I also put a ton of information in there from my years and years and years of research on consciousness and different ascension. Ascension is being talked about right now, but ascension practices and ascension philosophies these mystery teachings have been on the planet for a long time. All of the the Buddhist monks, the Vedantins, the Hermetic philosophers, the different occult teachings, all these secret teachings have been happening, and been happening in secret in monasteries for some time. We know more about these practices because of the life of Yeshua ben Joseph. People know him as Jesus, where he publicly displayed the practices of ascension and the truth of ascension in front of many, many people, which prior to that, it had been hidden information, only kept and hidden because it's a lot of power in the information. So this is where the monks and the different priestesses and priests, would do these practices in secret. But now these beings have been carrying the torch for thousands of years, keeping these sacred texts and these sacred practices alive. And now we're at this time where all of this information is starting to be disseminated to the regular people, so that we can all participate in this and expand in our consciousness. So, so the book has so much information in there. I really poured my entire heart and soul into this book to give you something that you can have to engage with all of this information in one place. So that book's called Illumination Codex. It's on Amazon. You can also order it in bulk from our website. But I would say the people that have been coming to me from my sessions have been those that are here to lead in the new consciousness, and those that are here to be pioneers and to lead others. And so I feel that I work with those beings so that they can work with many, many, many more. So if you feel like you're here on this earth and you have something big to do, you have some big mission that you feel, you may or may not know certain components of it, of what that means. If you want to grow in your capacity to be a leader and to create positive change, I love working with those people, because we can really ignite one another and combine power. So, okay.
Michael, can I say something? Sorry, I can't lift my hand because you won't see me. But I just have a trigger, and it's a positive trigger. It's when you just said about the big mission. I do experience a lot of people who struggle so much with exactly that. And they have a big mission. But this lifetime, in my view, is for all of us warriors of love, that we have fought a lot of battles and also taken a lot of pain for our training, so we could understand this and we are operating in. This lifetime is here to reconcile within ourselves light and shadow, the darker and the lighter parts. So our mission is mostly, the first sacred task is to integrate, to really understand this is only a body. Yes, it is, but we are here for the experience, what it means to connect consciousness to the vehicle of a human body that has been created to experience being a creator according to God's will. And people struggle. They always think they have to go out and do something, go to Africa and feed the others, and so, but they never feed themselves. So that is my biggest task at the moment, to actually repeat and help them see that they are their first and foremost task to look at this moment in time. So I just want to say that because this seems to overshadow their own taking up the mission, which is to be the light as an enlightened and balanced being, if I may say that. Thank you.
Yeah, bless you. Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, it's not here, like, as you journey through your own inner progression, as you awaken in your consciousness, as you start to remove all of those parts that are entangled with the world, and you really fill yourself up and integrate all of those parts, every single thing you do benefits all of life on this planet. As you do your healing, as you integrate all those parts, then it's just a natural side effect. This is what Christ was demonstrating. This is what those beings demonstrate when they are in their full expansion. It's like the flowers like reach up from the ground just to meet them. It's like life is just so happy to have a human fully realized. So, and sometimes, because of people being so, especially these what we could call volunteers, star seeds, indigos, whatever you want to call yourself, old souls, because of this level, and I'm seeing this especially now because there's a new story that's occurring, activating in the collective. I'm seeing again where these empathic beings that care so much, they've got their feelers out, their energetic feelers out into the collective, feeling and caring and wanting everyone to be so good, that they're getting really tormented by what's happening outside. because they care so deeply. And so and I've been that person as well. We really help the most when we can really be from a place of a full cup. Doesn't mean that, if you're not feeling 110% that you can't do good for others today. Altruistic action should always, always, always be happening. We should always be serving. But also knowing that we have to give to ourselves so very deeply and first, so that we have the stamina to continue giving, so that our giving isn't a detriment, that our caring for the world doesn't actually take us deeper into, our own misery. So if you're finding that you're one of those very sensitive people that cares a lot and has your energetic feelers out into a lot, maybe this is what one of these sessions can help you do, is to really come back into a place of sovereignty and solid and wholeness, and then let that be what serves the liberation of all beings. Because we're all here karmically. We're all here to learn through the struggle, through the push. That is like the thing that evolves life, is that struggle and that push and that reaching. So the suffering that this is my belief, the suffering that people are going through, I am getting more and more where I am standing in fascination and just holding space. So it's not a matter of rescuing people from their misery. The misery is really important. That's where the seed grows, is in the dark, in the soil. It's through the pushing through the earth. So while it's really intense right here on the planet, it's also, we are primed and ready for massive expansion because of that struggle. So I think, just to loop back around to what Bea was saying, just if you're in a place where you're experiencing pervasive suffering, enduring, and you're like, oh man, I want to be shiny and bright like those other beings. They must be more advanced or something. I don't know. They must be more spiritual. You very likely took on a massive amount of stuff to clear, not just for yourself, but also for all of the life on this planet and beyond. And only those super, super brave souls who are very, very powerful in the light would take on such intense conditions. So, it's we can't judge a book by its cover. Some of the most powerful cosmic beings have incarnated into the most horrific and horrendous families and regions of the earth, so that they could bring even just a flash of light and joy and love and faith there. So, so let's see, what was we were at B. I had shared something. We're going into other questions. So now let's get into like some cool cosmic stories, or clients. Ron, you have something?
Yeah, I want to just refer to one thing, because I see a question from Mirna. Then she had some difficulties with client that can be. And one, I want to say we're going to go more in depth in our IQH meetup about this topic. We can answer more about that. Tomorrow we have the IQH meetup. We support everyone once a month when there's a questions comes up. So that's a great question that we can talk more there. But I just want to refer a little bit quick now, and I think the topic was just kind of brought up when a person having those difficulties. It's just important to remind the people that they're only going to be shown what exactly the level that they are meant to see, and that they can see it in curiosity. And what's happening that some people sometimes don't want to see those darker part, or re-experience a traumatic event, and they're part of themselves trying to block the experience. Like Michael said, he was like standing up and didn't trust the information, even though it was a different type of like blocking it. So it can happen that your client gonna try to resist, and what's important is just to, and I want to remind everyone that going to have a session, to just go with the trust that you're only going to be shown what is appropriate for you. It's being held in so much love, and they're only going to show what you can handle. And sometimes it takes few seconds to just feel it, understand, remember where it came from, have the moment of the realizations, and then it's released in such a pure joy and love, and and the release from the experience. That's just sometimes when a memory of anger need to come up, you're going to feel angry again, and that's the purge, and you need to go through it. The energy is going to be released, and sometimes the tears are tears of cleansing the soul, the emptiness, the vast of the nothingness will be able to bloom something amazing out of it. So just reassure that even if you're going through or have been through really intense moment in your life, and you'll be revisiting the topic, it will be only to the level that will be for your healing. And we'll talk about it more in the IQH support meetup tomorrow. And Michael, back to galactivations.
Maybe we'll also hold on the questions from others until at the end once we get through this, because then we can really go for it. But just to piggyback on what Ron was sharing, if you're a practitioner and of one of these modalities and you're noticing this thing, in my original training, I didn't get any information really to guide this experience. But from my experience as a yogic philosopher and studier of the consciousness through other models, we want to think of the three gunas. We're thinking of the mind. So the three gunas are like these three energies of the universe. We have tamasic mind, that's the agitated, volatile mind. We also have sattvic, which is neutral. It's like the calm kind of place. And then we have this other one, the rajasic, which is like that heavy, murky type of consciousness. And there's different things that you can do with a client when they come into a session, such as different breathing practices that you can do, different meditative practices that you can do throughout that interview to really prime their inner instrument to be clean and clear and guide them into their ability to trust what their inner instrument is revealing. So again, we can talk about that more in the thing that Ron was saying, but I think if you do a little studying about those three gunas, Gunas, you'll get a bunch of keys there as far as how to meet a person's mind where it is and to help it shine for good revelations. So let's talk about experiences that happen during the sessions. So maybe you have I'll give each person maybe like 5 minutes to share a story of something that you feel intuitively called to share about a session. We'll start with Julie.
First I wanted to comment on what B was saying about, was a while ago already, was about time, because she was saying like how she wasn't sure she wanted to sit for it as a client and also as a practitioner, like because the sessions can take a while. I also had that feeling, but I find out that there is a portal we go through. It's a journey we go through, that there is no time. Like you really have that experience that you don't feel time. It's so interesting. And it's the thing that shifts for me also. It's because it is such an adventure that we go through together, that you're totally invested in it. You're in a different world, and it thought that you're not thinking about time. It passes very differently. There was something else also that I wrote down that I wanted to comment. Oh, Anna said something about Dolores coming through for practitioners to push them or give a sign, and I heard that story first time, and I was like, I wish to receive a sign to know for sure. And then I had this amazing dream with Candace. Like it was like an experience. I still can feel it. It was very like activating. And then later, I felt the shoulder tap. It's a famous shoulder tap, right? That some practitioners feel like a real tap in the shoulder. That I heard the stories, and I wanted to experience that, and I wasn't sure if it was going to happen because maybe this is not for me. But then I really felt a tap in the shoulder. That was fun. What was it? The question? Sorry. Oh, experiences.
Yeah, tell me some story.
Oh, one of the favorite sessions, like there are some clients that come and take you in such a fun adventure that there is a lot of humor. She had many kinds of guides, many kinds. Like she had a whole party every time we did a few sessions, and she had always a kind of a party waiting for her. And for me, this was special because she wasn't connected with anything, with anything spiritual before. So this was a whole awakening for her, coming to get in contact with this parts of her, and she was really channeling, and she was seeing all these guides, and they all had their own personality. And she would speak like every question will be answered by a different guide in their own personality. And then she could also see the scenes happening around while a guide was speaking. And there was like funny things that were happening. There was like a few guides that were funny and doing and this is so much fun. And when I have session with her, I'm always like glued to the to the screen, like what's happening, what's gonna happen. So I don't, it's not like it's an nothing's coming through about, oh yeah, it is. About the real, it's more for a feeling of that you get taken in the session. Another thing that I think it's amazing is the holding space that we do for people, and that they feel safe to allow the body, because all these ascension things that are happening through the body, from the body, through the body, for the body, right? Because we are already multidimensional, we are already there in many places, but the body is going through the ascension. So in these sessions, we have this very safe space that we create. And this is something I think it's unique to the IQ8 too, because there's something that I did 2 other trainings. And when I had a session with Michael that felt so, this safe space, this, there's something different. You go through a different level. At least I felt this way. And I also feel when I do this for the clients. And I get this comment a lot too, that there is this, you feel safe and taken care of, like we are like holding space. And I noticed this really frequent was Lionsgate. I started feeling, okay, there's going to come a few people are going to come for activations during that time, and it really happened. And they all went through massive body work. And it was so beautiful to see, because they were ready for it, and they needed the space to feel that safety, to allow the body to go through, because it's really like, sometimes it's like you're shaking through the whole session, or a lot of really intense things are happening. You have to feel safe to allow the body to go through it. And there was really intense things that happened like this. Then some clients had to burp a lot, or like really shake a lot and move the hands a lot, like really in specific positions, to allow it's like an recalibration, restructuring of the whole system, to allow new energy to come through. And there's like, you get instructions too on how to allow it to come. So this is so interesting to see, and also to feel that you are providing this safe space for them. That's one of the most amazing things too. Also to see the vision, like it's such an expansive thing that happened, and there's like, you are there with them, and the visions, they stay. Also the visions from your own, like if I think back to my first session, it was such a long time ago, I can experience it again, because there is this vision that happens. It's a whole body thing. And I remember the session with Michael too, that was so that you feel so safe, that it was the first time that I really tapped into it differently, because I felt that safe space, so I could see things in a different level, in a more expansive level, and the visions came through also in a different levels. So it's also very interesting to have sessions with different people because it's like different experiences too. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, the way that we train our practitioners, because Ron and I are coming from other information and beyond our initial quantum healing training that we did, we have an awareness of how to protocols that are needed to establish a quantum container for healing. Those are basic energetic protocols. Because if you're just opening up a space like this and there's no container, there's other things that can happen. So our practitioners are trained in understanding and awareness of how to really hold that space within themselves. Because when someone's holding space for somebody, what that means is it doesn't mean that you're just sitting there quietly. It means that you're in your heart as well. You're accessing that part of yourself that's full and whole and connected, so that the other person can align with that energy as well. They may or may not have the capacity to create that for themselves, or so when a practitioner or when a person is holding space for another person, it's like your identity fades away. Like your agenda goes away. You're there to hold the space to see what wants to be evoked from that mysterious third thing. That's the Holy Trinity. We've got the person that's receiving the healing, the person that's evoking the healing, and then we have that other layer, the divine God. You can call it whatever you want, your guides, the soul, that is also bringing in and working. So just having an awareness of that Holy Trinity throughout the experience, so that we can hold that really good, sturdy, safe space for people to go. I'm going to upload a video. I've had it sitting in the queue for a while on my YouTube channel, but I was waiting for permission from the person. This woman is going through something the moment she lays down to close her eyes and go into the trance. And there's an incredible storyline that comes through, but what she was saying, you can call this like a Kundalini activation as well, or it's very similar that people start to have energy, the spiritual energy move through them, and their body starts to go into different mudras, or they might start to speak in another language that they don't necessarily know. Again, these things aren't like necessarily new. These are things written about in the ancient scriptures about spiritual activation. But these sessions have a really wonderful way to invite that experience to happen in a really safe and good way, because it's held in a good container. So let's go into Anna.
All right. So first, I wanted to say that everybody that was watching this, that it's thinking about doing illuminated quantum healing, the practitioner's training, that you should stop thinking and just do it, because it really, everything that you guys talk about, like creating that container and giving us the tools. Because for me, and that's how my story gets, and my crazy stories in the sessions, I start from here, from this point, is that when I started quantum healing hypnosis technique, my first training that I did, I also had those questionings, like those self interrogations that Myrna might be having right now. Am I doing the right thing? Is it helping? Are those people even like having any kind of experience? Because what happened is that I was expecting those Alba Wyman stories. I was expecting, oh, I'm gonna put people in trance, and right away they're gonna come with this galactic story that they were like 5,000 years ago in this pink planet. Like that's what I was expecting, my own expectations. Even though I heard from Lori saying most you're gonna see collecting potatoes lives. And that's what I got, collecting potatoes lives. And sometimes I even got like just passed on this lifetime. And for me, it was just like, oh, that's boring. But for me, that was my own judgment, because a week later, that same person would just send me a message and say, oh my God, that life that I saw myself in the belly of my mother on her birthday was exactly what I needed to see. So it's the magic that happens after the work. And I remember in one of my most like, wow, I finally got something interesting. One of my clients, in the end of her session, in connection with her higher self, she says, there are three beings, three extraterrestrial beings that work with you on your sessions, and they're here right now. And I was just like, wait, what? And I was just like, I was put in the spot right now, right? And she's like, yeah, and they work in the activation of DNA of the people that come to work with you. So they are supporting this DNA activation on those people. And I was just like, wow, that's and they're trying to tell you that no matter what it is that is happening here, that you have your own expectations, that they are doing work, and it's a lot of profound work happening. And I was just like, wow, now it was the first time that I got like impacted by something. And I was keep saying I have to share those stories, I have to share, but I was holding myself from sharing because it was a personal thing. It was for me pretty much that I was trying to get that validation. I was missing the point. And when I started to understand the point, that it's so much deeper than just that session, right? And when we talk about mentorship, that is what was I realized that, and that's why I offer mentorship as well. Most of my clients now are clients that are coming for multiple sessions because they realize that at the first level, and this is also something that I receive in my, because as I open myself up to allow things to be as they are, I started channeling as well. I started the session that I got with Ron, I actually channeled those three beings. And I started to see the magic happening as soon as I started to release any expectation from it. And in those channels, I also receive that we need to have a certain level, in a conscious level, right, in our minds, of understanding of something in order for the spirit to come through and bring you there as well, for you to have that confirmation. Dolores is to say you cannot give a baby a piece of meat. You have to start with something that is digested first. And that's the same thing. So those people that come and they might have collecting potato lives, it doesn't mean that they don't have a life in the pink planet. They might have that life in the planet, but they're not ready to actually see it, believe it, and integrate in their lives yet. And that's what I think that's the most magical things that happens. And just recently I had a session in which also challenged this thing that people say, oh, but then if you have really a past life regression in your Cleopatra, for example, but you have thousands Cleopatras as well, right? And the idea is that the more that I studied to the books of Dolores Cannon and started to expand and stretch my consciousness, I could then be ready for those. So I had a session in which this man had this feeling, this connection of being one of the disciples of Jesus, right? And um, his girlfriend being something related to Mary Magdalene, some kind of energy related to Mary Magdalene, and she had that feeling within herself as well. So it ended up that in his session, what it came is that he was in one of the Asian civilizations at the time. He was, in Lemuria, and he when he was there, he remembered that he had some kind of like deep connection with the teachings of Jesus, and he was a disciple of Jesus on that way because he was studying deeply the teachings, and his girlfriend in this lifetime was also his partner at the time, and she was doing that kind of study as well and practicing sex magic with him at that time and bringing all that knowledge in. So it's not necessarily that he was a disciple of Jesus, but he had that impression in a lifetime that that memory came in, because we all have those memories in our genetic, level, and that's how those extraterrestrials are working in the session. So it's almost like the magic happened once that I released, and they started to all interconnect and make sense, and that's how it makes sense for my clients too. Weeks later, they're like, wow, what was that? And when they first come out of the session, they're already awake, like, what did you do to me? And that I had actually a couple of times happening. The first time that I did that guy that I was telling you guys that found out they had leukemia, he actually had to wake up in the middle of the session to go to the bathroom. That happened with me a couple of times. And I was terrified of this situation happening because during the trainings, I heard of this happening, right? I was just like, what are going to do if the person wakes up? And it was funny because he woke up, he opened his eyes, and he's like, I'm going to kill you. What are you doing to me? I don't know what's happening. And he went to the bathroom and he got back and right back into trance, like deeper than before. And he woke up and he's like, what happened? Like I don't even understand what happened. It's like, you don't remember that you even got up to go to the bathroom. He's like, no, I don't. He didn't even remember, you know. So it's this work is magical. You guys, what you offer in the training just got me even more confident. Working with Michael and working with Ron just really started to open those layers, like the onion that you're peeling the layers until you start getting closer to the center. And I know that I'm just a baby. I'm not even close yet. That's why I'm here on Earth. And there's so much more to learn. And I think that's the magic. You know, it's coming without expectations. That's the magic. A practitioner left the expectations behind. The person that comes to the session leaves the expectations behind, and then we can start to explore magic. Otherwise, we're just working from a place of limitation, of just like blocking everything else. So I could go on and on in those stories because now, you know, has been 3 years and there's 3 years of really cool stuff happening in those sessions.
Thank you, Anna. That was lovely.
Thank you.
We'll go into B, Cosmic Mother.
Yeah, I really couldn't agree more with Anna than when you said like limitations, expectations. I feel the most limiting part in the whole work is the words that we need to use. I find myself more and more with each session that I'm partly so deeply in that session. Julie mentioned that as well. You're seeing the movie that your client describes to you, and you're just able to ask better questions so that the client really gets a lot out of it. So in my experience, I would say everything is possible. Everything and anything is possible. And I feel myself becoming more and more humble with each session. Seriously, I have no expectation whatsoever. I know that some of the clients come in, and the best thing I can do is try to reassure them that the best will happen for them. And when they are able to truly feel that I'm convinced of that, they are able to let go a little bit more than they would have been without me being able to reassure them. I also feel that my own sessions that I do with other practitioners for my own understanding different things in my life do actually help me to become a better practitioner because I understand way, way more about myself. So now about the experiences, the sweetest one that I had, I don't even know when that was, maybe last year. I had a client. She was so super sweet. She connected really well, very quickly, and she had a guide. I was believe it or believe it, it was a white rabbit. And I had just to grin, and it was so super sweet. She just had so much fun with this little rabbit, and the rabbit would absolutely take over. So I didn't have to say anything. I noticed suddenly the rabbit was doing the whole session, and she said, "Oh, wait! Now the rabbit is doing this and that," and it was so super sweet. The rabbit also gave her symbols and like an Easter egg hunt, and that she would find another Easter egg later, weeks and months later, whenever she is ready, etc., etc. And at some stage, she realized that her guide, one of her guides, is what she called Father Son. And oh my God, that experience for both of us, it was just unbelievable. I have no words to describe this, but it's just really the depth of that session and the warmth and the energy of joy and love and being held was incredible. Another really beautiful part of another session was that one of my clients, she couldn't believe it. She was on her way through the desert, and she realized, and she doubted herself, and she said, I'm on my way to meet Jesus. And she couldn't believe it. So it was one of these meetings where Yeshua walked around, like, I think he was in his own, and visited very small communities where there was only very few people around, and taught adults how they could pass on the knowledge onto children. And I mean, for this client, she was so happy because she understood her current task on a much, much deeper level. And she felt so, so happy and so honored. It was so, so beautiful. And there's so many more stories. It's just like, yeah, as you said, Julie, it's like watching a movie. and when you put them all together, your own experiences from my own sessions and the ones of my client, I feel I'm looking into a kaleidoscope of events and possibilities, and I nearly don't want to stop to be in that space anymore. Oh yeah, one more thing before I finish. I had one client, she really had a very interesting experiences in different sessions with me. And so before we went into the second session, she said to me, oh, one more question I want you to ask when we're in is this maybe my last lifetime? She was so desperate. So it was so super sweet. The first thing she saw, she goes on a planet and she starts to describe things that I can't remember exactly. And then she realizes there's other humans there. And she says, well, it's really strange here. There's only 3 colors. There's only purple. There's pinkish kind of, and white. And you could already feel the disappointment. So I knew that question was already answered there. And then she said, oh, and these humans, they don't have as much free will than we have. And so I thought it was so beautiful. I didn't even have to ask the question. It was all clear then that you never wanted to go to a place that is that boring because there were only 3 colors there. So I thought that was really, really marvelous. So that was the start for a session in which she came with like loads of very difficult things, and all the rest started to roll very easily from there. So beautiful, so beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much for actually giving us all the opportunity to talk about these beautiful, they're all miracles, aren't they?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, B. I think they said before, they're like, you call them miracles, we just call them life. This is just how the universe works. Okay, so we have Ron.
I'm gonna do a quick one. I just want to talk again about the simple lives that and the magic that they can bring. In one of my recent sessions, the woman was reincarnated to a bird that was just, she saw herself how she's living on a cliff and she's just flying and just fishing for herself, and kind of she saw herself how she learned to do it, and then after she learned to do it, it was very simple, and it was very simple life. Again, this idea of potato picking life. And she was, even during this moment, she was still saying like, oh, kind of she was disappointed for a moment that she's seeing such a simple life and she wasn't going to, I don't know, something more unique. And so when we get into this part, but she did really enjoy, the freedom of the flying and the simplicity of this life. It was very abundance in her feeling. It was very simple. It was just really comfortable. She was feeling like she is part of nature and she knows what to do, and it feels comfortable. And when we got to the higher self and we asked, why did you show this life, and what's the purpose of it, and how it's helping her in the life that she's living now, the importance of this was this feeling of abundance, how mama provide, how there's always enough the clearing, the energy of the scarcity was needed to be cleared. And by showing her this simple life with abundance of fishing just around the whales, that she actually was seeing the fish around the whales and picking up next to the whales because that was easy way to do it. And then that energy of scarcity was able to be cleared, and that's really energetic and repatterning of the thought forms, and there's the process of the healing that happened after that. And she was also in a process of relocating, looking to buy a home, and it was triggering out this feeling of fear of the failure of what. There's many things that basically open up for her to kind of go to the depth of what she's dealing in right now. And so just those feelings that can be very simple but profound, that open a pocket of something that will really that's what the person need for. Yeah. So I'll share that there was more after that, but
Thanks, Ron.
conscious of time.
Yeah. Well, we're over our 2-hour thing, but there was one more question that I can focus in a way to make it somewhat short and succinct. And that is just, we've talked about all the emotional healing components. We've talked about the visionary state. We've talked about the interview, why somebody would come. I just want to take a few moments just for each of us to share any associations of for physical health issues. So we go through the body scan after we talk with the higher self a little bit, and we ask why certain things are shown and how they can use it for their life. And then we do this body scan to find out what things are going on. Now, sometimes clients come in, they're like, they don't have any health concerns, but there's still things that can be found in that body scan, energetic things, places where memory is creating different patterns in the body. And sometimes people come in with a list of health things, like serious health things that are going on that Western medicine has not been able to deal with, because Western medicine deals with symptom management. They deal with top level, and then hopefully, they can get rid of it, and you take the pill for, I don't know, for as long as you need. Now, what natural holistic healthcare, which this would be considered in that vein, we're dealing with entire systems. We're dealing with the whole of the person, and understanding that a symptom is manifesting because of something deeper. And so we address a couple different levels to bring healing into balance. And so sometimes the higher self is going to suggest physical things such as diet. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I want to start going deeper into my healing process, fix the diet. Really work on the diet, get it clean, get it clear to purify your vessel, so that you can have a clearer instrument. So sometimes they'll do physical protocol. They generally, most of the time, recommend natural healthcare things, herbs to take, different dietary supplements to take, more water, clear water. That's a big one. And then sometimes they'll talk about actual practices that a person needs to do, certain yoga poses or walking more. And then sometimes it's about, again, where memory and subconscious thought patterning is, which is all starting in the mind originally. But, what exactly is causing, I'll give some examples of some things that I found out. So a big one, especially with women, dealing with womb care and issues in the sacral center because of how much is being passed down through the feminine ancestral lines, of so much about what women need to look like to be acceptable, what they need to do, what they need to provide to be considered an actual woman. Maybe a woman has gone through sexual violation as a child, as a teenager, something that there's some type of trauma. Now what happens is then that energy is stored there, and subconsciously it's being replayed over and over and over again. So a woman may start to subconsciously or consciously hate or resent her womanhood, hate that she's in a female body, and start to create from that mental place a physical manifestation that can show up as fibroid tumors in the ovaries. It can show up as irregular menstrual cycles, painful menstrual cycles. And so in a body scan, the higher self would say something. She might re-experience this in another lifetime, in the regression time, and also this could happen in a male's body, experiencing a wounding, sexual wounding as a woman in another lifetime, and it's still carried over. But anyway, so they'll understand what it is to clear it if it's appropriate for them to see it. If it's too much for them to re-experience that event in some way, then the higher self just mentions that it's happened, and then we find out what is needed, what they're learning through this experience, what they need to really know and understand so that they can release this pattern today and heal. And then the higher self says this, and then we ask the higher self to start doing work, and it's instantaneous, it's multidimensional, unless the client needs to actually physically do some stuff to generate the energy. Most of the time there's instantaneous multidimensional healing, powerful energy moving, and people report that they have really rapid healing happening with those physical issues. So that's just a general understanding of how that works, and maybe you all can share just a few ideas, maybe like 2 or 3, or 1 if it's longer. Julie.
The womb thing came up a lot, and I've seen the womb also as the womb. The vision was the planet, and then there is the womb of the planet, ready to. There is all this knowledge ready to be revealed. And that's also happening within ourselves, with our bodies. The womb as this carrying this knowledge to be accessed. There is this thing coming up a lot about the womb magic, that we are all accessing it, right? And a lot about releasing what we are carrying. We carry a lot in the womb. It's heavy. There's a lot of also finding out programming that you weren't aware of, and this is coming through this connection with the womb, past lives, old stories with past lives. But I'm always also amazed at how the scan goes, the body scan. Because there's all these things that the client was not even aware of, and also the connection with each organ that sometimes come through like really unexpected with a message. Some people really get like a list of supplements and things that they are supposed to change and take in detail. And there's a lot that comes through about diet, cleaning the diet. And one that I thought was very interesting, it was that there was the question about diet, and that is not about how you eat or what you eat. It's not about what you eat, but it's about all the programming that we have about food too, like why we choose certain kind of food and what we think about it while we are eating, like changing this whole interaction with food too. There's also a big programming that is being released.
Thank you, Julie. Anna, maybe you can share.
All right. So for me, and again, talking about the womb, right? And in the sessions for me, we're talking about emotions and integrating those emotions. And that's the womb, right? The womb is that darkness, is that place that Michael was just talking about, that is the place in which the seed, it's growing to give life. And that's when we're talking about the feminine, the theme that I'm seeing is in this bigger level, that is that us as a collective, we need to go into the womb, we need to go into this place that we need to feel our emotions, our pains, integrate them so we can be born from this place, right? And so that's actually, a theme for me, because I'm seeing so many of those women and men too coming to deal with those emotions. It's big. But I seen in my sessions also, Michael was talking about the herbs. I also work with flower essences. Amazonian flower essences is a therapy in which flowers of the Amazon, the essence is taken in the same concept that the flower remedies from Dr. Bach, Edward Bach in England, was, and some doctors, some holistic doctors prescribe the flower essences of Dr. Bach. But in the same concept, I went to the Amazon to study the flowers of the Amazon and how they support people's healing in a holistic way. And I had some higher selves coming through, even not knowing that the person itself that was in a table with me, not knowing that I do flower essences, saying like, this person needs one of your flower essences. You need to give them your flower essences, to deal with this thing that is more holistic. It's more subtle. It's something subtle that needs to change. It's like Michael was saying too. It's not doctors with prescriptions that need to do something to heal that. It's a mindset, is a shift in consciousness, is looking things in different perspectives. Other things that I had to, my first client that I had, the leukemia client, for him, his higher self show him a past life. So his past life, he was a gangster. And he killed people, from the back, and he had a life that was really dense. And it was showing him how he now, and the theme of his life was how he was blaming himself for everything that was going wrong in his life, for doing things wrong to people that he loved. And that's what his higher self told him, like, you literally attacking yourself. You need to love yourself now. The past is the past, it's gone. You saw it, so you can now make better decisions. And then he decided to go vegan. He decided to practice yoga. He is a motivational speaker for anybody that speak with him that he doesn't even know. He is just a person that now it's like helping so many people just by being himself. And his leukemia, it's completely under control. So it's that, it's magical. So that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you. Ron, if you want to share just a little heal. Oh, B, emerging from the ocean.
Yeah. You keep forgetting me now, huh? I'm getting tired. No, I actually don't remember many things from my clients, but I remember very vividly from my session that I had with Ron, and it was something about my knees. And I remember my higher self responding to the questions, why does she have something with the knees? Now, I didn't even have pains or anything, but the body scan brought it up, and it said she doesn't want to bend. So it was kind of a resistance to, to kneel down and take the orders of other people. And in the same session, there were several things that we could see in my system, and one was my hip or something. And Ron asked the question, why was that in the system? And it was from a previous lifetime. I have forgotten the story around it, but why was it kept? Why does she have it now? It was taken into the ancestral line, was the answer, so that others could choose that, to learn from it. And I thought it was really, really interesting that we at certain times decide to put that into the genetic line so that they can have experiences with it if they wish so. And that also brings a totally different perspective to any kind of challenge, physically, emotionally, mental, in our lives. It's all there for a purpose, and we just try to find the core issue for us at this moment in time. Why do we feel it so strongly? And I think this is so divine because so important for our growth. Yeah, that's all I want to share. Thank you, Ron.
Bless you. And then, Ron, do you have anything you'd like to share just briefly about the healing part?
I think you guys did an amazing job of sharing a lot. There's really variety. It's really so many things that can happen, and it's everyone's so different. There's can be like some things with like gravitational. Something that was unique for me once was like their center and their gravitational pull with the earth was needed to be uplifted a little bit so they won't feel so heavy. There's like things like whoa, they're working like magnetically, and like so different things that was really unique, and understanding that it's really profound to hear those new concepts sometimes being shared with you. And but I just recommend people to binge watch some sessions and just then you'll be able to see some of those miraculous experiences that people are going through. And sometimes just those feelings, those energies that comes in, the colors that come in, those alchemy, that feeling, it's really just beautiful to witness. I don't want to speak more about that because I feel like we're reaching completion with time. So
yeah. Thanks, Ron. And if you've enjoyed this video and you think it would be helpful for others, please go ahead and share that. If you'd like to I'll be notified of when we go live again, because we'll be doing these every month, then just make sure you subscribe or hit the bell, change the notifications, like, heart, all those things, fabulous things that we need you to do on that end to make sure we're being circulated. And just a reminder that we have the Quantum Launchpad coming up, those 4 experiences that people can have. You can find out more about that on the newearthascending.org website under the IQH section. And then we do also have the practitioner training coming up. So if you're wanting to hold these fabulous sessions and learn with us and grow with us as well and engage in these powerful revelations, we have our practitioner training coming up at the end of March, and you do have to apply first, so you want to get those applications in as soon as possible. There are payment plans available for that. We're really super accommodating. If the desire is there and intention is good, then we're happy to accommodate. So just before we close, we start every IQH session with grounding and centering, an invocation of some kind, and we finish every session with a closing, let's call it an exvocation, just as a moment to ground and center. It's really important to do this whenever you're doing anything in your life, just to really bookend it, so that when you're going into the next chapter of your life, everything's closed and put in the right spot, and that you can walk fresh into the next experience. So just inviting everybody to take some time to close the eyes now, just to have this moment to feel into your breath, to feel into all that has been cultivated and revealed through this dynamic conversation. Giving gratitude for all that was not said, but that was felt within the inner planes of each person that participated in this transmission and will continue to tune in for the replays. We give gratitude to the higher planes for being there to mother us, to father us, to guide us into our spiritual maturity, and to be so ever lovingly shining this insight and wisdom for us to be nourished by, to be healed by, so that we can realize ourselves as divine beings in form. Just asking for a special blessing for what was cultivated here today to ripple out into all timelines, all time, space, and space-time realities, to benefit all beings and to liberate all of creation from cycles of suffering and lift it up into perfection and glory and unification. Thank you so much for this opportunity to play and dance here now. Bless you all so much. Yeah.
I want to say one thing, just that you can find the practitioner on our website. If you do an IQH, find the practitioners, you can find amazing people working from all over the world. There's a map there. You can find Julie and Anna and B, and you can find others too. And just really find who is to connect with, and you can try a few, and you can also find people that are studying and can offer a session by donations or free. So just go through the website and find practitioners, and we hope that will ignite your awakening in your path and will support you in any way. I just want to thank Julie, Anna, and B again for your fabulous, amazing energy, and your story is so much love growing with you as this IQH family is really so nice, so beautiful. Thank you.
Bless you all. And my angels that are here with me on the video, if you can just stay, I'm going to end the stream here and we'll just have a quick second to chat, and then you can fly off into all the dimensions that you do. Okay. Okay, bless you. Thank you, everybody. Ending the stream.